Hey, last video I did was on the reasons why you should definitely get locks, and this video is going to focus on the reason why you may want to reconsider getting locks, or you may not want to get locks, or you may want to hold off on them. And as you watch the video, you might see me just moving around, and that's just so that you guys can look at the locks, because it is a lock video. So I think for me to just sit up here and talk, especially if you're a newbie and you're looking to decide if you want to get locks, maybe you want to actually see some locks. So forgive me, I'm no YouTube career person, so it's not going to be perfect. But I'm going to give you some reasons why I think you might want to consider or reconsider. You need to have a strong sense of who you are before you decide to get locks. A couple of things go into that. Number one is a lot of times we identify with our hair, especially as we're young. And those of us who have cut our hair off totally and been freed from this hair phenomena, we like the feeling of exhilaration when we cut our hair off, because it helped us to understand that we are not our hair. And even though we have since, like me, grown these locks and we're in love with our hair again, there's just something that changes you when you decide to go natural, or when you decide to cut your hair off and even begin to grow locks. So your hair will go through its own journey. So you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared for how it looks. And then you also need to be able to accept yourself in your journey and not be so bent on identifying with your hair that when it doesn't look like you want it to look, you don't feel good about yourself. I gotta tell you, even if you decide to get the locks and you're not in that space, the locks will force you to come to terms with that, and you will become stronger and more confident as you go through the journey of getting your locks. And the reason why I say that is because you can read all you want to read about the journey of getting locks, but when you get them, you really start to realize. I remember reading they don't start to really grow fast and really mature until 5 years, and I was like, yeah, right. Well, they are changing all the time. They are morphing just like you're morphing. And as they morph and do things, you're going to look a certain way. In the beginning, I looked like a plucked chicken. But see, I was covering my hair, so it wasn't really a big deal. I was covering my hair during the daytime, but I didn't like the way they looked when in the beginning, because although my hair was thick, you could see parts everywhere. Now, I got my hair done a little over 2 weeks ago. When I first get my hair retightened, I don't like the way they look. So there have been times where I had certain events going on or different things I was doing, and I pushed my hair back, or I pushed it up, or I rescheduled the event, or I scheduled the event during a time where I knew I would at least have some coverage around this area. I don't like looking like I have box braids around the front of my hair with my SisterLocks. I like it to be filled in, but that's the least of your issues. You're going to be dealing with sometimes it's going to be wavy, and then when it starts to lock, and then depending upon the texture of your hair, if it starts to bulge or matte or whatever starts to happen, or you have slippage, different things will happen. So you need to be in a space of total acceptance of the journey that your hair is going to go through before you get your locks. Another reason why you might not want to get locks. Unfortunately, we still live in a politically charged environment when it comes to Black women's hair. And that's a paradigm that we need to push out, and we need to continue to energize the movement of that paradigm as far away from us as possible. We should be able to wear our hair any way we want to wear our hair. If we decide we don't want to wear a wig, or we decide we don't want to be straight and curled, then we shouldn't have to worry about if I can get a job or keep a job, or if I'm going to be discriminated against because I decide to wear a natural style. That is very problematic, guys, and we have to fight that battle. We need to continue waging that battle for those of us that are in the front lines and have those kinds of situations. Now, I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't have to worry about that, but prior to that, I was in education, and I don't think I would have had to worry about it in education as well. And other industries like healthcare, it's not something that you're going to hear a lot about, but there are some corporate style positions that sisters are in, or military, or different kinds of work environments where their hairstyle becomes an issue. And so that's an unfortunate thing, and But if you know that it could become an issue, it's something that you should really think about because it's an investment. And to be told that unless you deinstall, take out your braids, you're not going to be, or your locks, you're not going to be able to maintain that position is something that can be very real. And it's something that you have to give some consideration to. So that's something you want to think about. Also, if you're the type of person that doesn't like to follow a regimen, say for the first at least year and a half to 2 years of getting your locks, you may want to reconsider. Some people not only don't want to really do much to their hair, but before they got locks, they were trifling anyway when it came to their hair. Now, let's talk about what I mean when I say trifling. Somebody might call me trifling because I haven't washed my hair in 3.5 weeks. But my hair is clean and I'm not going to leave the house with dandruff flakes everywhere. And y'all already know I'm OCD about picking cotton. So even though I don't do a lot to maintain these, when I'm picking cotton, and that's a whole nother topic because I really do have some issues with picking cotton. And this is not slavery. But if you're the type of person that doesn't want to do anything to your hair, a natural style still requires you to love on your locks. I love on mine with natural products, so I think my hair is healthy for that reason, and it's really growing, and it's growing faster than a lot of people that I know that have locks. My hair has far outpaced their hair, and I really think it has a lot to do with my hair care regimen, which, again, guys, is really simple. But there's some women who didn't really wash before, didn't really care about the condition of their scalp before, just didn't groom their hair. Didn't take care of it. When you get these locks, although you may get to a point to where you don't have to do a lot of that, you can tell when people are not maintaining their locks because the scalp doesn't look good. The locks have lint in them. The front areas of the lock have a lot of what do you call residue. The hair looks dry. It doesn't look healthy. It doesn't look like it's happy to be in the person's head. There's a regimen that you do have to follow in the beginning. For example, the banding. I think they called it banding, where you plait your hair up loosely and you band it with those little miniature rubber bands on the end before you wash it. That's something you really need to do. And for my hair, if I didn't do that, even I stopped too soon, I had to go back and do it again. I think I did it maybe for the first 2 years or so because my hair would just do all sorts of things. My hair was kind of soft in certain places, not everywhere, but my hair would do all kind of crazy things. And even when I had a couple of locks at the very back that were fat and lumpy, and I was constantly picking them out and plaiting the ends. And, this was well after into my 4th or 5th year. And as a result, when I would wash it, I wouldn't do anything to it. And it would start to come out again and look all crazy and fat and matted and I just didn't like it. So you got to do that. You have to use certain kind of shampoo so that you don't have slippage. You have to make sure that you are covering your hair up at night, which I did say religiously for about the first full year. I did sleep with a satin cap on. I wish that maybe I had continued to do that. Maybe that contributed to my lint problem in addition to the initial products they told me to use, which, by the way, is an individual thing. You use what works for your hair. There's some general rules, but everybody's situation is different. So if you're somebody who doesn't want to maintain, you're going to probably have some breakage. You're going to have some problems with your locks. You want to be someone who can do that and know that you're going to be doing that at least for the first couple of 3 years until your hair falls into its own little pattern, and you then can get a feel for what your hair actually requires. I watched my hair like clockwork. I went and I did the retightenings like clockwork. The 2 times during the first couple years that I didn't do my retightening on time at 8 weeks, which is what it used to be, even though now it's more like 10 or 11, I paid for it. I had these fat knots. Some of the hair turned into knots from the scalp to where the lock started, the new growth. And when she retightened them, I had still some of those knots in my hair, which I did not like. Eventually they smoothed out, and a couple of them I think I probably kind of clipped around them. They did look kind of crazy, and I was mad at myself. Of course, at that time I didn't know that over time the locks continue to compress, and eventually they will even out, and eventually you'll have that uniform look that maybe you want. So That's a really, really, really important thing. You got to be willing to put the time. If you're not willing to put the time in, don't waste your time and money. As far as the retightenings go, I said in my last video, don't let the money be an issue. I believe that you can manifest anything you want. If something is important to you, then you can manifest it. You can make it happen. Those of us who have a more limited paradigm, if you don't buy into that same thing, then you may feel that you're a function of your circumstances. And if you don't have reliable job, or you feel like finances will be an issue and you're not interested in becoming a do-it-yourselfer, then obviously the locks are something that you're going to want to reconsider, because you do have the regular retightenings. Now, my retightenings cost me $125 if I go to one sister who will do them. And my regular loctician who actually installed my hair, she charges me $130. And of course, I'd leave a tip. So I say I pay on average about $140 most of the time to get my locks done. I'm getting them done every, like I said, 10 or 11 weeks. So you figure I'm paying a little under $70 a month if you wanted to kind of break that down. To me, it's worth it. Why is it worth it? Because I have a style that always looks good no matter what I do. I don't have to labor over my hair. I don't have to worry about the weather. It's a get up and go hairstyle. My hair is healthy. It's constantly growing. I love it. I feel like it's beautiful. I feel beautiful with these beautiful locks, and I sport them as a natural style, as an African American woman who's proud to wear her hair. So to me, it's worth it. But if you look at 70 times, 12, you're looking at $840 something a year. That to me still is not a big deal. I know people who have phone bills who pay way more than that. I pay $45 a month for my phone bill, not a penny over. I don't spend my money on cable. I don't waste my money on stuff like that. But I will put my money into myself, into my hair, into keeping it healthy, and into carrying a style, an image that I feel is important to me, a way that I like to see myself look. So to me, it's worth it. But if that's a potential area, a sore area for you, and the maintenance is going to be an issue, you want to think about that beforehand, because it is a financial commitment. And even if you start doing some do-it-yourself kinds of things, initially in the beginning, I wouldn't suggest doing a do-it-yourselfer thing until you got further along the road in your lock journey, at least upwards of maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 years before you started doing that, because so much is changing in the beginning. You really need somebody else to kind of help you monitor what it is that you're going to be doing with your locks. That's pretty much it, guys. The self-esteem piece, or the confidence piece, being able to stand in your natural style, considering the financial commitment, considering the economics of it, if it might impact your job situation, and then also whether or not you want to put the work in. Those are very real considerations. Also, geography, where you may be living. Some of us, if you're considering moving out of the country, which I was at one time, I had to literally consider, okay, either I'm going to have to start maintaining these on my own, or I'm going to have to find somebody in a little village somewhere and give them the little needle that I use and show them this is exactly how you're going to have to maintain my hair. Because it is, everywhere you go on the planet, even though Loctician geographic coverage is improving, it's not present everywhere, even in rural areas. So you'd have to consider travel, or you'd have to consider how you would maintain your hair in the meantime. Also, I'm going to say this last thing. If you're getting SisterLocks so that you can then later on begin to do something different other than locking it the way it's supposed to be locked. Like, I know some people who have gotten these and then they started the rolling, which is the traditional lock. They started doing something different. I really don't recommend that. If that's why you're getting these to begin with. The SisterLock has a certain look, and it has a certain feel, and it carries with it a certain preference, I think, for those